You've got to hear this because one of the wildest off-season storylines just popped up, and honestly, it caught a lot of people off guard. Just when it felt like things were finally settling down, a new prediction has everyone talking. And if you're a Vikings fan, there's a good chance you're not going to like what you're about to hear. But that's only part of the story, because there's another major update involving the quarterback situation that could shape this team's entire season. So stick with me until the end, because there's a lot to unpack. Before we jump in, make sure you hit that like button if you bleed purple, and let me know down in the comments by typing SKOL Vikings, so I know who's watching with the Vikings family. Nobody expected Justin Jefferson's name to suddenly become the center of another blockbuster trade discussion, but that's exactly what happened. Just when it looked like the entire offseason would pass without anyone questioning the future of the Minnesota Vikings' biggest superstar, a new prediction has sparked a wave of debate among fans. And the proposal isn't just surprising. It has many Vikings supporters calling it one of the most disrespectful takes of the offseason. The discussion began after CBS Sports predicted that Justin Jefferson could be traded before the 2028 season, with the Las Vegas Raiders identified as a possible landing spot. The reasoning behind the projection centers around the Raiders potentially building their offense around quarterback Fernando Mendoza, projected as the first overall pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, alongside standout tight end Brock Bowers and running back Ashton Jeanty. According to the prediction, Las Vegas could once again make an aggressive move for an elite wide receiver, similar to the trade that brought Davante Adams to the franchise. But for anyone who has watched Jefferson closely throughout his career in Minnesota, the idea immediately raises serious questions. Justin Jefferson isn't viewed as just another elite receiver. The argument presented is that there may not even be a realistic trade package capable of matching his value. 3 first-round picks? Still not enough? 3 first-rounders plus additional second-round selections? Even then, the answer would likely remain no. The reasoning is simple. Players with Jefferson's combination of talent, consistency, leadership, and professionalism rarely become available, and replacing that type of player through the draft is almost impossible. He's described as one of those rare athletes whose impact goes far beyond statistics. His route running continues to be considered among the very best in football. His hands remain as reliable as any receiver in the NFL. Just as importantly, Jefferson doesn't bring the distractions often associated with superstar wide receivers. While many elite pass catchers develop reputations for creating drama or demanding constant attention, Jefferson is portrayed as the complete opposite. His professionalism at the podium has often been compared more to the demeanor of a franchise quarterback than that of a typical star receiver. That leadership only increases his value inside the organization. The conversation naturally brought back memories of one of the most famous trades in Vikings history: Randy Moss being dealt to the Raiders in 2005. Minnesota received linebacker Napoleon Harris along with the 7th overall pick and an additional 7th-round selection. At the time, Moss was already nearing the end of his first Vikings chapter and reportedly no longer wanted to remain with the organization. While Moss would later revive his career with the New England Patriots, including his unforgettable 23-touchdown season with Tom Brady in 2007, the comparison only strengthens Jefferson's current standing. The argument presented is that today's version of Justin Jefferson is significantly more valuable than the version of Randy Moss that Minnesota eventually traded. And then came another controversial opinion. CBS Sports also ranked Jefferson as only the 8th best player in football, while another analyst questioned whether he even belongs among the top 2 wide receivers in the NFL today. That criticism centered largely on his statistical production last season, suggesting other young stars had surpassed him. That claim immediately runs into one major obstacle: context. Jefferson played through one of the toughest quarterback situations any superstar receiver faced. Despite dealing with instability under center, he still produced at an elite level and continued proving why defenses build entire game plans around stopping him. Rather than viewing the season as evidence of decline, many see it as further proof of his ability to elevate an offense regardless of who's throwing him the football. Names like Jackson Smith-Njigba and Puka Nacua have entered these conversations, but placing either above Jefferson remains one of the most hotly debated opinions among NFL observers. While comparisons with Jamar Chase continue to generate legitimate discussion, many believe Jefferson has earned the benefit of the doubt after consistently performing at an elite level since entering the league. The biggest takeaway remains unchanged. Unless Justin Jefferson personally tells the Vikings organization that he never intends to wear the uniform again, there appears to be virtually no scenario where moving him becomes a realistic option. For many, he isn't simply Minnesota's best player. He has become the face of the franchise itself. What do you think? If another team offered an unbelievable package of draft picks, would you still refuse to trade Justin Jefferson? Or is there any offer that would make you consider it? Share your thoughts in the comments. Even if Jefferson were to make a trade request, the feeling remains that the Vikings should do everything possible to repair the relationship rather than immediately look for a deal. The only circumstance that would truly force the organization to explore moving him would be if he made it absolutely clear there was no path forward and that he would never play another snap for Minnesota again. Anything short of that simply isn't enough. Jefferson is under contract, and the belief is that a franchise should exhaust every possible avenue before even considering life without a player of his caliber. If, several years from now, the quarterback situation remained unresolved and Jefferson genuinely wanted out, perhaps the conversation would become slightly more realistic. But today, that scenario feels incredibly distant. In fact, there's an even bigger point being made. For years, people have talked about the Vikings searching for a franchise quarterback. But another perspective is emerging. Perhaps Minnesota already has its franchise player, and he wears number 18. Justin Jefferson isn't just another offensive weapon. He's become the identity of the team, the player every defense fears, the face of the organization, and someone around whom the entire roster can continue building. From there, attention shifts to another storyline that could define the Vikings' season, the quarterback competition heading into training camp. NFL insider Albert Breer offered an interesting perspective on where Minnesota currently stands. According to Breer, the Vikings possess a roster capable of winning immediately, while simultaneously managing an open quarterback competition. More importantly, he believes the coaching staff won't allow previous investments or draft status to influence the decision. The competition, as described, comes down to J.J. McCarthy and Kyler Murray, with the coaching staff prepared to let the better player earn the starting job regardless of outside expectations. Breer noted that while most people expect Murray to ultimately win the competition, McCarthy has an opportunity to change that narrative. After another year of development, he's reportedly showing greater composure, improved command of the offense, and the benefit of working alongside one of the league's more talented supporting casts. Perhaps the most fascinating part of Breer's comments is the suggestion that Minnesota may no longer be evaluating McCarthy as simply the 10th overall pick from the draft. Instead, the organization may now be viewing him exactly as every quarterback eventually wants to be viewed, not through the lens of draft position, but solely by his performance. At this stage, McCarthy is simply another quarterback competing for the job. The expectations attached to his draft selection no longer matter once training camp begins. There's still considerable belief in McCarthy's long-term potential. The possibility remains that he develops into an excellent NFL quarterback. But that timeline may require more patience than many initially expected. Rather than becoming an immediate star, he could follow a developmental path similar to other quarterbacks who needed additional time before reaching their full potential. At least for this upcoming season, however, the expectation remains that Kyler Murray has the inside track. Another voice entered that conversation when Baker Mayfield spoke publicly about Murray and offered insight that resonated with many observers. Mayfield explained that he understands what it's like to believe you'll spend your entire career with one organization before circumstances suddenly change. Sometimes, according to Baker, a fresh start can completely reshape a player's career. He also addressed one of the biggest narratives surrounding Murray. Mayfield believes Kyler has received an unfair reputation, with people assigning him a certain personality and leadership style that may not accurately reflect who he really is. That comparison opens an interesting discussion. Many people have compared Murray's situation to Sam Darnold's career arc, suggesting Minnesota could provide another quarterback with the perfect opportunity to revive his career. But another viewpoint argues that Murray's path more closely resembles Baker Mayfield's than Darnold's. The reasoning is straightforward. Before leaving Cleveland, Baker Mayfield had already demonstrated he could win football games, including leading the Browns to a playoff victory. Murray's resume in Arizona shares some similarities. While he didn't win a playoff game with the Cardinals, he successfully guided the team to postseason appearances and showed flashes of elite quarterback play. That differs significantly from Darnold's earlier career, where consistent team success proved much harder to find. Questions about maturity and leadership have followed both Baker and Kyler throughout their NFL journeys, making the comparison feel even stronger. Each quarterback entered the league with enormous expectations, faced criticism during difficult stretches, and eventually found themselves searching for the right environment to maximize their talent. The belief expressed here is that Murray possesses every physical tool necessary to succeed. A former Heisman Trophy winner and first overall draft pick doesn't reach that level by accident. The talent has never been the issue. The challenge has always been putting every piece together consistently. That's why there's optimism surrounding his opportunity in Minnesota. Whether that optimism proves justified will only be answered once the season begins. But confidence remains that Murray is capable of delivering an outstanding year if everything falls into place. Now, the conversation belongs to Vikings fans. Do you believe Kyler Murray can become the answer at quarterback for Minnesota? Is he closer to Baker Mayfield's career resurgence than Sam Darnold's journey? Share your opinion in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this breakdown and want to stay updated with every Vikings storyline throughout the offseason and beyond, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss the latest Minnesota Vikings news. As always, SKOL Vikings!